oh man, I can't wait to watch a movie that highlights all the worst aspects of the worst time period in my life, said nobody ever. Hello everybody, it's me Scoop, and Eddington is really not great. Now don't get me wrong, this movie is not some absolute trash tier clusterfuck like Madam Web, or even like Harold and the Purple Crayon or anything like that. No, on a technical level, this movie's fine. It ranges from like decent, serviceable, to like a handful of moments where it's actually pretty solid. There's a shot or two, a few cuts where I was like, hey, that's pretty good. But Eddington is still that rare type of awful movie where you walk out of the theater and you just have to ask yourself, who on God's good green earth they made this movie for? Don't worry, this video will be spoiler free until I explicitly state, towards the very end that we are getting into the spoiler section. So if you, for some reason, have any interest in seeing this movie, don't worry, you can rest assured that this video is fine for you to watch. Eddington is basically a 2-hour and 25-minute recap of everything that was awful during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have people yelling at each other about wearing their masks, and we have doom scrolling on social media through absolute nonsense, and we have social distancing, and people, the sheriff in this movie keeps his phone holstered like it's a weapon, and everybody pulls them out like they're a weapon, and it's just so aggravating. Like, nobody wants to relive any of this stuff. If you got sick of hearing about it from like 2020 to 2022, 2023, it is in this movie in pretty great detail. And I could actually understand the desire to perfectly recapture such an important time in history and put it into a film like this. The problem is just in how they did it. Eddington has no real theme or message outside of everybody's a horrible person and a hypocrite, which, like, okay, sure, fine, fair. But why would I watch this movie when I could go see Superman instead and have hope pouring out of my pores, man? It just strikes me as really odd to go through all of this effort to, like I said, make a 2-hour and 25-minute movie that, for the first 90 minutes or so, actually does a great job recapturing what life was like during the pandemic, just to not explore anything new about it or to have the audience walk away with any cool new theme, message, or idea. It's literally just, yeah, man, this is what COVID was like, and then the second half of the movie just gets batshit insane. It shows nothing new about this time period that, once again, we all just lived through, so it just feels like a complete waste of time and energy. So if you don't already know, the main plot of Eddington is that we follow the residents of this small town, namely Pedro Pascal, who is their mayor running for re-election, and Joaquin Phoenix, who is currently their sheriff, who really does not get along with Pedro Pascal. And after Pedro Pascal yells at Joaquin Phoenix about not wearing his mask at the supermarket, Joaquin Phoenix decides he's gonna run for mayor as well. And I think the biggest issue with Eddington has to be its just baffling lack of focus. The plot I just described to you honestly sounds kind of interesting. If they really stuck with that, and that's what everything's centered around, it could have been pretty cool. But Ari Aster, the movie's called Eddington because he wanted to paint this broader picture. He wanted to give you a microcosm of society during the COVID-19 pandemic, so you see a lot of different aspects of this town, which, once again, could have been interesting, but nothing really flows together all too well, and it certainly doesn't build to anything cohesive. Like I said, there's basically no theme in this movie, so following all of these characters for such a long period of time with no main takeaway from it all is just really annoying and like disappointing. And I really cannot overstate how bad shit insane the last like 45 minutes or so is. Joaquin Phoenix's character makes this decision that is shocking. It is downright diabolical, all right? Like, I did not see this coming. And from this point on, I actually got interested in the story because this is when things finally got exciting and interesting. It felt focused. I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what's going on. This is really cool. But then like 20 minutes later, we get another bad shit insane plot twist that takes us in a totally different direction. And then I was like, oh, okay, so I guess this is what the final 20 or so minutes are going to be. Sure. And then like 10, 15 minutes after that, we get another crazy spin in the story that takes us into another completely different batshit insane direction for like the final 10 minutes. So by the end of it, you're borderline dizzy. You're just like, wait. We did not resolve like anything here. And I was actually interested in that. And I don't even understand where you were going with that. It is just a complete mess. Ari Aster's movies in general are very hit and miss because they all have these batshit insane finales. And they push this like one very specific tone. And something I respect is that each of his now 4 major movies are all pretty different from each other. I happen to really love Hereditary. I thought that the supernatural aspects were really well done and were honestly the scariest part of the movie. That one shot of like headless Annie floating into the treehouse. That shit makes me freeze up every time I see it. Midsummer was a movie, it was one of the rare types of films where I can go, that was good, but I did not like it. Where I understood what it was going for, I respect it, it's a well-made movie, I just didn't vibe with it. I didn't really like the characters that much, it wasn't for me. That's alright. Beau is Afraid. I'm so glad I never actually watched it because I got the ending spoiled for me, and if I sat through 3 hours of that movie to get to the penis monster ending, I think I would have like blown up the theater or something. Oh my god. But here with Eddington, it's not like any of his previous 3 movies where I could see somebody getting into it, somebody getting some enjoyment out of it. This just feels like a complete whiff that is bound to just make everybody bored and annoyed and probably a little confused. Yeah, sure, I don't think everybody's gonna say that was like the worst movie they ever saw. I'm sure a few people are gonna come out of it with at least like a couple of positive comments, but overall, I really can't imagine anybody giving this movie a very positive review and being like, Ari Aster killed it. What a perfect satire. Amazing commentary from Ari Aster. Thank God this movie exists. Like, no, I genuinely cannot comprehend how somebody could come out of it with that feeling. The strangest part to me is that, like I said, the issue I have with this movie is that it's just so mean and pessimistic. Like, everybody here sucks and is terrible, and this isn't even shown in an interesting way, which just makes it worse. Like, people will just flip on a dime and do bad shit, which is just so uninteresting when there's no deep motivation behind it, there's no understanding that we have, they're just like that. But Pedro Pascal and Emma Stone's characters are the only two here that might actually be good people. The issue is, we don't really get to explore them or understand them because they both have this very long, complex, tense, dare I say, backstory, and the movie just doesn't do a great job of explaining it. We get to hear a couple of different characters' perspectives on their backstories, and they'll give like little hints at it, but we never really get the full story, which just makes it feel like there's something missing here. Like, to me, they feel like their characters are supposed to lead us to the core theme of this movie, but they're so poorly explored that I have nothing to work with. Like, there's not enough strings for me to pull at to figure anything out. Especially considering both of them exit the story, like, incredibly suddenly and in very strange ways where, once again, I just don't get what they're going for. Like, I don't know why anything in this movie is the way that it is, man. It's driving me insane. There is one interesting, well-written character here, one of the members of Joaquin Phoenix's police force. He seems like he's a good guy and he's trying to do the right thing, but everywhere he looks, there's people egging him on to be a bad person. And once again, I thought this was actually interesting. He was well, like, spread out throughout the film. He had a couple of good moments throughout to, like, remind you that he's here and he is interesting. And then when his story finally builds to its conclusion, we get the most batshit insane twist of the whole thing. And it's just, once again, completely unresolved. And it's frustrating. Like a lot of things in this movie, it is flat out frustrating. The script felt like Ari Aster had concepts of a plan. He had this idea he was going to tell us about this small town in New Mexico and show us what life was like during the pandemic, reveal something deep about the human condition to us. And then he had like a few interesting ideas to start out with, but he never really was able to get beyond that. So he just kind of wrote the first draft and was like, yeah, that's good enough. I'll just produce that real quick and get that out the door. Because like I said, nothing about the actual production here is all that great either. It's all just like fine, solid enough, does its job. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give Eddington 2 stars. It's not incompetent, it's just really bad. Like I really don't have much positive to say about it. It's just not some 1-star train wreck, you know? It's just very, very weak. I don't know what they were going for. I don't know who this movie was supposed to be for. I can't imagine anyone would like it. I do not recommend Eddington at all. Absolute nothing burger, useless mess of a story. I would also like to specify a 2-star review for me is pretty much the worst review I can give, because even a 1-star, like a 1-star movie is Madam Web, where I actually watched Madam Web and it was fun. Like I watched it with a few of my friends. We just goofed on it the whole time and it's so bad you can enjoy it. But with Eddington, there's almost nothing to enjoy. There was like 1 or 2 moments that I thought were interesting and that was about it. Out of a 2-hour and 25-minute runtime. Like, just a complete waste. After this video, I will probably never think about it again. I'm going to do a little bit of a spoiler section here, so if you're clicking off this video, thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you enjoyed it even more than that. Leave a comment down below if you've seen the movie. Even if you haven't seen the movie, I'm just curious what your perspective on it is. Anyway, I need to rant about the ending for like 2 minutes just to get this off my mind so I can never think about it again. What was with the Antifa twist? They just showed up, they blew my favorite character to smithereens, and they chased Joaquin Phoenix down, and then his like mother-in-law uses him as a tool to take over the town. What is going on? That was not set up Nothing about this was set up. They straight up just appear, wreck the whole story when it was finally getting good. And it takes like 30 minutes for them to wreck it. It just keeps going. I'm genuinely baffled. I don't understand what happened here. I don't understand Emma Stone going off and joining Austin Butler's cult. I did go to get popcorn for like 2 minutes when Austin Butler showed up, and I missed the beginning of that conversation. I think it must have been really important. I'm willing to give the movie the benefit of the doubt on that, but still, man, that whole plot line eludes me in its meaning. I have no idea what was going on with that. Pedro Pascal just getting shot and leaving the story was shocking, and I thought it was, if he had been defined as the one good person in this town, that could have been interesting. But like I said, his backstory with Emma Stone, it seems like he didn't do anything wrong, but like we're really not sure. So you can't leave it ambiguous, because if the very core of the character is ambiguous, everything regarding them is ambiguous, and that's just useless. That's meaningless to me. That's nothing. So one of the top reviews on Letterboxd is that this is the first true modern American Western. Buddy, get your head out of your bum. What are you talking about? Yeah, like I said, Joaquin Phoenix keeps his phone holstered like it's a weapon. Genius, man. But besides that, what do you mean it's a Western? You've the sheriff, you might as well just be like a random cop in town. It doesn't feel like the guy tipping his hat as he walks into the saloon and all the criminals like lean into their drinks and give him the stink eye. What about this feels Western besides the fact it's set in New Mexico? Nothing. Yeah, so really, I did not like this movie. Very bad movie. Do not recommend it. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and keep it crispy.